Thank you for listening to the Golden Hour Drip podcast with me, Logan Lee Miller. Enjoy the show. Welcome back to the Golden Hour Drip podcast. I'm your host, Logan Lee Miller, and I just had the best iced latte of my life. Okay, I made it at home, so sorry you can't go out and find this, but I'll tell you exactly how to make it. So in the mornings, I love to have a hot coffee, okay? It's usually still chilly out. We're not into like a super hot Missouri summer yet. It's still relatively cool. And in the fall and winter, like especially because now we have proper outdoor furniture, I love to bring my hot coffee outside and just relax and hang out. However, when it comes to like 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, if I'm tired, okay, like if it's been a really long day, if I have a long evening, if I know that I'm going to need some motivation, need some inspiration, a little pep in my step, I will vie for a iced coffee because it's afternoon, like it's a little warmer, and I usually don't have the motivation or the energy to steam milk. Okay, like I want it quick, I want it snappy. And with a cold coffee, you can experiment more, in my opinion, with like syrups or homemade sauces or anything like that. And you guys know I just got done with my strawberry jam. So I canned about 13 pounds of strawberries, and I love a good cold foam. So I decided to do a mocha coffee with a strawberry cold foam. It was so good. Like the balance of the mocha, like to me, thinking about adding chocolate to a coffee, you would think that it would make it overly sweet, but it almost like enhances the coffee's bitterness to make it like really work together phenomenally. And I normally don't add like flavors to my coffee in the morning. I just want a plain latte. I love how the milk and the coffee work together. And so this was like a bit different for me. I don't normally get like a mocha. If it is an iced coffee, like I love a shaken espresso with cold foam, but that's not something that I normally do. So to have this mocha iced coffee with a strawberry cold foam, what I did was I just took some heavy cream, added the strawberry puree, and blended it up with my milk frother. And honestly, like it was the perfect consistency. It was so good. And I honestly like will have to make this again. I love my notebooks, as you know, but I started to write down my like recipes, not all like just recipes, but things that I want to remember. I've just started kind of like a working journal, but it's separate from my actual journal notebook that has like recipes that I worked on, or what I was doing that day, or a grocery list. Like it is kind of like it's not like it's a journal, but it's not a journal. It's not like what I did today, how did I have fun, like my internal thoughts. It's nothing like that. It's more like, okay, I wrote my strawberry jam. When I was making jam, I wrote how to like make my jam. Or like I said, a grocery list. I don't know. Like I've been using it as a scratch pad, but still like writing it neat so that I can like go back to it. So I wrote my mocha strawberry iced coffee in it. And I also have been dating them as well, just so that I can go back and see what I was working on, what I was doing. I also have like just like ideas and inspiration for, upcoming Golden Gal network events or where I see myself. It's definitely like a scratch pad. It's not a formal journal, and I almost like it just as much as my other one, because I feel like I have to have a consistent thought with my proper journal, but with this journal I can just like jot down a recipe and date it and be like, oh, that's what I was doing that day. So it's also like they have scrap journals where you like paste things in it. So to me, it's similar to that, but I'm not ripping paper and pasting it in. I have been reading the book Unreasonable Hospitality. And the author writes in there how he said before marriage and kids, every single night he would journal with a notebook and a glass of wine, and that's how he would like wind down. And I realized, I was like, oh my gosh, that essentially is what this notebook is. And I really started it a couple weeks ago. Like I think I started it like on the 1st of May or something. I had grabbed a couple notebooks when I was recording for the podcast, like I write shorthand on it. And I picked up 3 notebooks, one for a to-do list. So it's like, okay, 9 to 11, this is what I want to accomplish. 12 to 1, this is what I want to accomplish, right? And then a third notebook that I just wanted to have things to jot down. And I've been really using it as a thinking pad. And it has been so helpful to be able to, again, like go back and see what I was working on. So it was like while I was reading it, I was like, oh my gosh, that's what I've been doing essentially. So that was kind of cool, like a full circle moment of he, in my opinion, is like a very amazing, like he's in the restaurant industry, and it is just so interesting to read about the struggles and the triumphs that he had throughout working in this industry, and like how people are wanting connection. And it's just like a really phenomenal book. I don't know like really ultimately how it came into my path, but I picked it up and I'm almost halfway done, and I've just been absolutely loving it. The restaurant industry is not something that I'm in, but it is so just interesting to read about it, and how they work in the kitchen and just like the details to everything. I'd like to think that personally I'm a very detail oriented person as well. And so to hear another person like geek out or have fun with their passions in such a meticulous way is just right up my alley. And I've essentially have been enjoying it vastly. It's been so good. Honestly, I've been on a bit of a book kick. I think that like ebbs and flows with books is really good. I hate the like fast book reading, as in like, oh, like we're consuming so many books and we're not actually like reflecting on the book or taking pause with the book. I've said this before, but people who set like unrealistic goals of like, in a whole year I want to read 365 books, like essentially like a book a day. I can understand that if you have a you know, a school child, you know, like someone in school and reading like a book that's 15 pages or 10 pages, like I can understand that too. But to consume like a whole book, like at a rapid rate, like I don't know if that is quite the culture that I'm looking for. So for me, like to pick up a hobby, and put down a hobby and then come back to the hobby is really, the whole premise of life, right? Like the hobby is not the focus. Your life is the focus, and having a hobby to accentuate your passion or your life, like that's what's more important. It's not, oh my gosh, like I am this hobby, but instead like how the hobby can influence and positively impact your life. And so for me, like reading a book, like I'll get on a kick, right? Like I'll consume some books, but not in a way that is just kind of detrimental or too list oriented, because personally, like I am a very goal oriented person, and if I get caught in the weeds of, oh my gosh, I need to be reading a book a week and I need to stay on this regimen, like that is not why I read. I read to enrich my mind and to take like a break from all the craziness. So for me, it's like an ebb and flow, like all good hobbies should be. I started reading Hannah Brown's book. I finished that so quickly. If you have not heard, Hannah Brown has a memoir, but she also released a like novel, and it's called, oh my gosh, I'm going to butcher this. I feel like covers and names are hard because I just like immediately open the book and start reading. But it's, oh my gosh, essentially, what we were never, or the mistakes we never made. That's what it's called. Mistakes we never made. I just want to make sure that is like the proper name. But if you go on Goodreads or Amazon or a bookstore, or even searching up Hannah Brown, and her new book, it is everywhere. But it is called currently, no, where Goodreads is honestly, it definitely could be upgraded. I feel like it is so, I don't know, just too, it's not smart, like it's not user friendly, but it's Mistakes We Never Made by Hannah Brown. Read that one. The Breakup Vacation by Anna Garcia. Read that one. That was really good. But essentially, like the last book that I finished, before that was, when was it? Oh my gosh. See, again, not super user friendly. I wish it had like a date on when I finished it, but I'm going to say it was like January or February. Like I've taken a bit of a break. And then in the past 2 or 3 weeks, I've finished The Breakup Vacation and Mistakes That We Never Made. The book that I'm currently reading, again, I said Unreasonable Hospitality, but our Golden Gal Network just had our book club and we read, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, which was so good. And now we're waiting. The book club book is always announced the first of the month. So I'm still waiting for the poll to be complete so that we can, choose our next book. But for me, like a book and reading is something that I want to pick up every once in a while, but I don't want to feel like it's school, like where I have a deadline and I have to make sure that I'm reading so many pages. I want it to be a leisure activity. I want it to be like good for my brain and just be able to pick it up whenever. But I have been kind of loving it. And I feel like when you do put the pressure on yourself of we have to read so many books in X amount of time and we have to do this and we have to do that, that's where it becomes not fun. That's where it becomes more of like work instead of pleasure. And I want to love book reading just to read books. So, but yeah, let's get into the peak and the pit of the week. My peak of the week, I'm so excited. So as you know, I've been working on making our house a home. We have spent, this will be the 3rd summer here in our home, and I am so excited. I have just been trying to make the commitment. This is a problem I have. I want to, make the decision and execute and just be happy with it. So back in February or March, maybe it was February, I found a chair and table set from Facebook Marketplace. It was second, third, fourth hand. It was in their family. Him and his wife got it from their aunt who got it from their grandma or something. Like it definitely was vintage. It had been used. What I liked about it is it had cane chairs. So if you don't know what cane is, it's like a thin piece of wood material that is crisscrossed into a pattern on the backside of a chair. Sometimes it is on, if the armrests have a bit of like length to them or padding, I don't know. Anyways, cane chairs, they can get really, really pricey if you purchase them like firsthand. Like if you go to a store and buy them, they're also pretty difficult to repair. So I'm not sure what we'll do if we do ever need to like actually repair the cane, but they're beautiful chairs. They can, the table came with 2 leaves, so I could have like a small table, a bigger table, or like the biggest table. 6 chairs. It was really affordable. The only problem is the chairs have never been changed, as in like the cushion or the actual like fabric material. And it was like a very, very pale yellow. And while I do like yellow, it was sun bleached. There was a couple stains on it. Of course, like if you're eating at a dinner table, you're keen to spilling on the chairs, right? And I love the table and chairs, right? But I've been trying to think if I could get them reupholstered or if I was just going to be happy with the yellow. So I searched online and was trying to find someone who could reupholster chairs. This is not something that's like regularly done. I feel like used to people would mend their items and now like we just throw it away and we find new, but I want to lean more into repurposing items and making sure that we are giving items the longest life possible and we're not just like trying to buy new and fill our landfills. So I reached out to a couple places and I got a quote. It was going to be like $150 per chair to reupholster, which there's 6 chairs, and that would have been double the price that we would have paid for the table and chair set itself. And I don't know why I was doubting myself on like, oh, I need a professional to do this, right? And I thought maybe it would be cheaper, like $20 per chair. I didn't think the labor would be that much. And on top of that, that was without the fabric. So I said, well, I can't do that. And I was looking at the back. I was vacuuming our house. And so whenever I'm mopping and vacuuming, I usually like flip over the chairs on top of like our island and of course the table. That way I can get the dog hair that's like stuck to the legs, completely vacuum that up and then give it a good mopping underneath the table. And as I was looking, I noticed that there was like screws, and I've like wrapped things in fabric before. I've sewn, I've done like so much. And I don't know why I was thinking I wouldn't be able to reupholster them myself. I guess maybe I was just nervous because it was like cane and really and truly the fabric had nothing to do with the actual like back of the chair. And so I was like, you know what? I could probably do this. So I hopped on Joann's Fabric online and I picked out a print. It's called like Birds on the Water. It was on discount, but still $9.99 per yard. I was hoping to find something that was like a little more cheaper, but I did like the pattern. It looked great online and I ordered it. I was like, you know what? It'll come in a couple days. I won't have to go to the fabric store. I bought a whole bolt. I was like, I don't know how much I'm going to have to need, but hopefully this is enough. And maybe I'll have like a little left over in case like, I spill completely on one and have to replace it. So the order came in and I was so happy. And I got them finished. I got them completely done. And it did take me like 3 days. So after work, I would just like pull a chair or two out and I would unscrew it and then like pull out all the staples. That was the hardest part because the staples had been in there so long and the fabric was deteriorating in some ways. So when you tugged on the fabric, like it wouldn't also pull out the staples. It would most likely, it just like ripped. Okay. And so then I had to take needle nose pliers and I had to pull out each little section. And although it was like, took me 10 minutes or 15 minutes to pull out all the staples, it didn't take me that much time at all. Like I would have much rather done that 100 times over than to have had to pay someone per chair to do that. And it was so simple. I cut my fabric, I wrapped it. Of course, we have a staple gun already, so I didn't have to like go out and purchase a staple gun. I trimmed the fabric. It was so simple. Like it was super, super easy. I'm really, really proud of how they turned out. It's like a blue and green situation. And right now on our table, we have blue placemats and these super cute green candlesticks that I found at a secondhand shop. So overall, like the vibe is coming together. I could not be happier. It is just like looking really pretty. And then, with that, I had ordered the fabric. So I already knew what the fabric was going to look like before it came in. So I had it in my head. Okay, it's going to be green. It's going to be blue. It's going to be beautiful. And Garrett and I had picked up our outdoor furniture. And I told you, I think last week or the week before that, when we picked up our furniture, we went to Nebraska Furniture Mart and we picked out these yellow stools and they are so beautiful. They are counter height for, kitchen counter. So I was a little nervous because that was yellow, and then we had this like pale yellow. It wasn't looking good. I knew the fabric was coming, so it would be like switched out momentarily. But as soon as like we reupholstered the chairs, it just looks so good with the yellow stools and the new seat covers. And I am really happy with how the kitchen is turning out. I still need something like if we are going to paint the walls, or if we're going to put up wallpaper or something behind the kitchen table. I would love that. And I still need artwork somewhere near that, or a mirror or something. Like it is just, it's getting to be time, right? Like time to just like nail things into the wall. And I this past week on Thursday, I went to a little happy hour. Not a happy, I'm sorry. My Golden Gal Network happy hour was Wednesday, and it was so fun. Thursday, I went to a dinner with the KC Cuisine Club, and it was at, oh my gosh, I forget what the restaurant in KC was. Ultimately, it's my backyard dream. Like it has a little brick building that kind of is like almost like a church, but it's way too small to be a church. It's a little bigger than the room that I'm sitting in. And it had not only a restaurant, but it was like a house that was repurposed, and the house had like different levels, and it had artwork, and it had house decor, all sorts of like just fun things. It reminded me of the painted sofa in KC, if you've ever like heard of that. And so it just had like decorative items, things that, you know, just make you happy, and so much artwork on the wall. And up on like the second floor, I saw this beautiful drawing of a girl, and then like just really fun pieces. And well, before I could like make a decision, I was like, you know what, like I really need to use the restroom. So the restroom, of course, is at the bottom of the home. So I had to go all the way downstairs. And while I was in the bathroom, I go into a stall, and it's right next to this beautiful like portrait or landscape scene. It's a scene. And I was looking at it when I was done. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is beautiful. And of course it had a price tag on it. Everything was for sale there. And it was in my budget. I was like, this is perfect. So it has, it's basically a scene from, I'm not super educated on like time pieces, but to me, it's like Bridgerton era. Like ladies are in poofy dresses. They have hats on. Like it's very, very just beautiful, but also in the aspect that's like Bridgerton setting. That's like the best way I can describe it without misquoting a year. But it's beautiful. And basically it's lunchtime, and all of the ladies are like sitting at different tables. It's mostly women in the scene, but there are a couple like men scattered here and there. And to me, it still was like girl dinner. Like it's girl lunch. It's like girls coming together and talking and being social, which is my favorite thing. I love getting with my girls. I love to chat with the gals. And for me, this painting or portrait or image was exactly what I love. It's my girls coming together, grabbing a snack, having lunch, talking, gossiping, laughing, connecting. Like those are my favorite things in the world. And as I was staring at this painting, and I see like one woman sitting at a table by herself, and the relationship with like yourself solo is so important. And then I saw a table with two women and one man, and I saw like a waiter who was a man, and then I see a girl who looks like so fashionable, and it looks like she arrived late. And of course this is like a story that I'm making up in my head of what each character is doing. But to me, I just felt like it was such a beautiful depiction of the gals getting together. I loved it. I had to have it. So I went downstairs. I was like, I'm still downstairs. I go into the bar area and I was like, hey, like I would like to purchase the painting in the bathroom. How do I do it? And I ended up walking away with this beautiful, beautiful painting. And the only thing is though, I was traveling to Iowa like immediately after this event. So I had to like throw in the vehicle and I'm like, all right, we're gonna drive to Iowa now. And as soon as I get home, like I'll put you on the wall. I don't know where I'm going to put it exactly. Right now it's hanging in my office. Oh, by the way, it's massive. It's so big. Like it's bigger than my arm span. It has a gold trim frame. It's stunning. It's beautiful. It has like a maroon matting and I almost want to replace the matting with like a pale pink or a pale blue, but for right now it's perfect how it is. And right now it's hanging in my office, but it might go in my entryway. I don't I don't think I want it above my kitchen table, but I am open to kind of placing it around and finding where it looks the best. And I could not be happier with it. It's so cute, so darling. So we're getting things in the house. I'm so excited. I feel like I'm getting settled. I feel like I'm being an adult. I feel like investing in pieces that make me happy and also just like bring so much warmth and personality to my home is important to me, especially because I spend so much time at home. And also like I love entertaining. I love having people over. And when I had like a couple people over for my birthday celebration, I was just reminded on how the pieces in your home can really make someone feel invited or not invited. I know like there's been houses I've gone in where everything is so meticulously perfect, as in like I couldn't relax on the couch. I couldn't, feel like I could eat a meal without thinking, oh my gosh, what happens if I spill on the floor or dump over my glass, or, wanting to be like so perfect. It was almost like unlivable. Like it was just a home for display. And while like there's characteristics of a home like that I love, I want people to feel like they're able to relax in my home. I want things to be neat. I want it to be clean, of course. Like I don't want debris or, something gross. Like I have 2 dogs. I'm always vacuuming. But I want it to be inviting. I want people to be able to relax on the couch or pull up a stool and not feel like, oh my gosh, like I'm gonna wreck something or it's gonna go out of place. And so like even the bar stools that we swapped out for the counter stools, like the bar stools were just too high. There wasn't a cushion on them and it felt like your knees were hitting the top of the table, and it was kind of rickety. And of course they served a purpose. When I bought them, they were $10 on Facebook Marketplace, but like they weren't exactly the comfort or most comfortable. And I want people to be able to sit and pull up a stool and have me make coffee and chat and talk, or nibble on the charcuterie tray or whatever. And I just feel like the things that I'm doing is upscaling it from a college dorm or a early like adulthood home into something a little bit more mature, a little bit more inviting, and also like not feeling the not embarrassment, but I feel like, oh my gosh, like I'm sorry that's out of place, or I'm sorry that doesn't fit, or the apologies that you feel like you have to do, like, oh sorry, our bathroom mirror is cracked, or oh sorry, the faucet, you can only turn it to the right for hot and it's opposite, or like any of those little imperfections that us as like the person living in the space can see and like be like, oh gosh, like that's bad, or they're gonna judge me or whatever. To completely eliminate it throughout. And it's been a slow process, right? Like it's taken us like a couple years, and there's so many more years to come, right? And to continuously like build upon it and not having to be perfect exactly like right now today, but know that it's something that is going to be continuous, that we're going to be able to add and change and pick a piece up from here and pick up a piece from there. Instead of, oh, like I ordered this from a catalog. It's exactly what the catalog said. There's no personality, no personal touches or anything that defines my house over someone else's house. And I just think like those little creative touches are so powerful and also so welcoming to people. And it makes me just really excited to see what's to come also in the future. Hey, I hope that you're enjoying today's podcast episode. Just a quick interruption to let you know that Golden Hour Drip has a weekly newsletter that comes out. This has bonus content, weekly updates, and future event information. If you haven't already, go down to the show notes, click the link, and join today. Now, back to the show. Okay, so my pit of the week. My little brother just finished his freshman year of high school. And honestly, like he is my youngest sibling. To think, oh my gosh, like he has completed his freshman year and is going to be a sophomore next year. Like I remember I literally remember getting out of school freshman year thinking, next year is my sophomore year. Like I remember Snapchat being out. Snapchat was like a fairly new app, and being able to just like have a platform to be social with your friends that your parents like weren't kind of on. Like Facebook definitely like is a millennial app, a millennial social platform. And so like my parents were on it because, well, my mom was on Facebook, and my aunts are on Facebook, and like family is on Facebook. And so that's not necessarily something that I posted on really, mostly, although like my friends still had Facebook as well. Snapchat and Instagram were like the top social apps for us. And Instagram, like it was just so relaxed back then. It wasn't like Snapchat. And this was before Instagram made stories. So they kind of like took that from Snapchat. And Instagram, when it first started out, didn't have stories. It just had feed posts. And so I remember like posting on my Snapchat. I was like sophomore, like going into sophomore year next fall or something like that. Like I remember so distinctively our like shirts on the last day of school. We always like kind of wore like our homecoming shirt from that previous fall. We didn't, or maybe, I don't know. Honestly, like I just remember having the shirt on. It was the last couple days of school and thinking, oh my gosh, like I'm going to be so mature next year. For me, like summer was always this like time period where it's like I am gonna come back better than ever for fall. I was really into the click books, and I feel like they definitely shaped my perspective of like high school. And of course it's very similar to like a not Gossip Girl, kind of Gossip Girl, but like where Serena goes to like a boarding school and then comes back, and she's just so fabulous, right? Like, so for me, like I distinctively remember going, like being done with freshman year, going into sophomore year. And so for me, like Brody being a sophomore this fall is just absolutely mind boggling, because that means it's been so many years since I was in high school. And I think it's really fun to have siblings that are like different ages than you. My three of my siblings are very, very close in age to me. So it's like a year difference essentially like between us. And then my younger sister is 7 years apart, and then Brody is 11 years apart. So it's kind of fun to have like the different stages, and I feel like it is restarting again, because like now I have nieces and a nephew who are, you know, the next generation essentially. And I know that like Garrett and I aren't like, our oldest niece is 6. So her being 6 is almost like Lily and I being 7 years apart, right? So if I think about having a child, maybe in the next couple of years, it's going to be a similar age gap to like me and Lily. And so for me, it's like, oh, like it's almost generational. Like we have this part and this part and this part. And it kind of reminds me and helps me like have it in different increments where it's like, oh, okay, like this is how much time has passed, or this is how much time has passed. And it's just crazy because like Lily and Brody, my two youngest siblings, both were freshmen this year. So Lily was a freshman in college, Brody was a freshman in high school. And so for me, I'm like, oh my gosh, like my siblings are now, and I guess like, of course, your life starts when you're born. But for my perspective, or like thinking like your life truly starts when you move out of the house, right? Like if you're thinking about it from an independence aspect, where you're like, okay, you have the most independence as soon as you like start becoming your own person away from your family. When you're growing up, it's like dictated heavily by what your guardian or your parents do, right? Like they essentially set the tone. We have supper every night together, or maybe you don't have supper every night together. Maybe you're an athletic family or you don't do anything, right? Like it's your family culture is so important to your development. But as soon as you start becoming your own person, you're able to ask yourself like, hey, am I going to keep those values? Am I going to invite different values in? Will I keep with these traditions, or will I do something different? Like it is completely your choice and your life is up to you. So for me, I feel like although I'm still heavily influenced by my parents, especially as an 18-year-old, you still start to develop your own thoughts and feelings about the world, even more so because now you're on your own. Or maybe not, maybe it hit you at a different time. Maybe it wasn't 18, maybe it was 20 or 25 or whatever, or maybe it was younger. But that's when you start like really becoming your own person. And so for me, I'm like, Lily and Brody are starting their official lives, right? Like, of course, they had lives before. But Brody, of course, like when you get to high school, like you're a little bit older. You're now, although like freshman is the bottom of the high school, you're now like in high school. And that's like the top part. You have elementary, middle school, and high school. High school is at the top, even if you're at the bottom of the top being a freshman. Same with Lily. And so for me to think, oh my gosh, they're beginning, their young adult Brody, or, their slightly older young adult, like they're starting their young adult lives, especially because around freshmen, it's mostly sophomores, start to get their driver's license and they're driving around. And I think back to when I got my driver's license, or my freshman year in college, and it is so weird. And to me, like it feels almost like an aspect of a child, because you envision younger siblings or children as being so young, right? But with each year that you get older, they also get older. And so thinking that they're their own person and they're no longer an extension of our family, like they're their own branch, like that's not making very much sense. But what I'm saying is like they're no longer like just a child, they're now an adult. Like now they're able to make their own choices, or some aspect of their own choices. And so Brody completing his freshman year, like it was already crazy to me that he was going to be a freshman in high school, but now he's going to be a sophomore and then a junior and then a senior. And that, like, for me, just like it hits. It's like, oh my gosh, he is an adult. He is getting older. He's no longer my kid brother. He's now like a young adult brother. Like he is developing into his own person. And for one, I think that's really good for the dynamics of a sibling relationship, especially because we are so distant in age. At times it could feel like I was more, and especially like older siblings will like feel this, but you're kind of always having to take care of your younger sibling. Not good, not bad, just like you're there, and you wouldn't be a good sibling if you didn't, right? And hopefully one day they repay it by either watching my kids, or, if I get too old, because there's an 11-year difference between Brody and I, and Lily, 7-year. hopefully, maybe they'll let me be in their home before they put me into assisted living or something. But to know that they are, they're adults. They're getting older. I'm getting older, and it feels like so monumental of his last day of freshman year, and now he's going to be a sophomore and like make more decisions for himself. And although like I try really hard to like keep my experience separate from my younger siblings, as in like, oh, don't do this because I did this. When I think about what I would have wanted at that age, I definitely don't want someone to tell me what to do and be like, oh, I tried that, it didn't work. Like, of course, everybody wants to have their own experiences and to develop into their person and try it and figure out for themselves if it doesn't work. We all hate the person who goes, oh, I told you that wouldn't work, or, you have to do this. Like, of course, I want them to build upon my mistakes, but I don't want my experience to be like the handbook that they have to go off of, because they're allowed to experience their own things. And it's again like a different time. Like, I grew up in different years than they did, and it's just, I don't know, it's a pit, not because I don't want him to get older, but it's a pit of, oh my gosh, like so much time has passed, and you can't get time back, but you could definitely like start understanding how you're going to be using the next couple years of your life. Or it just brings it in perspective of time is so valuable, and it's a reminder that it's always passing, and it's up to you to be in the moment and to spend it wisely. I definitely know that the last couple of years I have taken inventory of my time and how I want to spend it, and what fills me up and what makes me happy and what doesn't, and eliminating the things that it doesn't. But it's just like a reminder of, hey, nothing lasts forever. They won't be babies forever. They won't be, this age forever. This past weekend, I went camping in Iowa. It was so fun. And my mom and stepdad have set up their little camper, and my niece and nephew, so sweet. I love these kids with all my heart. They were with their grandparents this weekend. And so I went up there. I was like, yes, like I would love to go camping with you. And I think independent visits home without Garrett is really important, because it helps me still remind myself, I don't know, I love Garrett and I love the relationship that he has with my parents, but sometimes I want to be loved as like a child still, right? Like, and I know that they still love me as a child, but it's just like different. Like when you're on your own, it's like, oh, like it's no longer me and Garrett, but it's like me almost as a kid again, like not reverting back to bad habits, but you just like get that time with your parent, that one-on-one time. And especially because I do have multiple siblings, and if it is like a holiday like Christmas or Easter or Thanksgiving, like we have a full house and I don't get that one-on-one time, and if I had like my spouse with me, then also that takes away the time. I just think it's important to spend time with your parents one-on-one again, so it's more like a parent-child relationship, not all the time, but still good, because I know that they feel nostalgic about like us children growing up, and I of course feel nostalgic about like not being a kid again as well, but we can still build memories together as an adult. And I was like, you know what, like I would love to help out with Marcella and Malcolm as well. Those are my niece and nephew on my sister Caitlin, her children. And so I wanted to see them, right? Like, and about a month ago, I talked about like going and taking them for lunch. I just think it's really important to be in your loved ones' lives and trying to extend that time to them if you can. Life is so busy, everything is so busy, but it's those pockets and those moments where we put family first that we're able to have like a really good experience, that if we just focused on work or focused on, cleaning the house, like it's to spend quality time with those we love. And so I drove up there after my event on Thursday, and I was tired. Like I had a full work day. I the night before had the Golden Gal Network gathering, and I'm running around, but I know it's important to spend time with the people I love. So I drove up there. Luckily, it's quite a shorter drive. It's only 3 instead of 6. So I went up there and I got to see them, and it was so fun, right? Like I will never get this time back. Like they will be this age only for a little bit. And of course, like children grow and develop so quickly, right? Like that is when most of the growing of our brain happens, and our cognitive skills and how we learn and our habits, and just monumental time. And of course, like I just love them at this age. I love them when they were younger, and I would love them when they're older. But to hang out and spend time with them, and how their minds act, and what they're doing, and it's just so interesting, of course, how they're developing into their own people. Malcolm is 3 and Marcella is 6, like I said, but it's like one that's 3 years apart, right? Like it's so dynamic, the difference between like when Marcella was 3 and when Malcolm is 6, like how that is different. Like the age just, it determines a lot, but also it's just fun to watch them, right? So we went camping essentially, and we went on the lake, and we went tubing, and we got a million bug bites. I swear, like I have a trillion bug bites all over my legs and my wrist. Oh my gosh, that is one thing about summer. Bug bites are ridiculous. Okay. And I feel like the mosquitoes always come towards me. I love to be outside. I love to spend the evenings, the mornings outside, but I hate the mosquitoes. I just bought citronella candles. I need to like get some plants that are like maybe some citronella plants. I don't know. Okay. I'm over these mosquito bites and I'm itching like crazy. But we had a great time. It was really fun. But I know that that was like an impactful visit, because time is so special and we have to use our time wisely. I know that I'm not going to be able to be there for every single special event in their life. I live out of state. I live in a different state. But the time that I am there, I want to make the most impactful. I want to be present. I want to spend time with them. And it's funny. Of course, like your aunt and uncle, like when you're growing up, and maybe, everybody's family is different. But for me, it was so impactful to have those individuals in my life and how good they are. And of course, like I love my aunts and uncles as an adult as well. Like they are such great people and I love them so much. And like even like Garrett's family, like I love his family so much. But to have a community is really important, and to strengthen those ties, especially because I do live out of state. But like for Malcolm and Marcella, it's not their parents, so they like want to sleep with you and like sleep in the bed. And we're camping, so it's like a pull-out mattress, and it's so fun and it's so cute. I love it. But we get into bed, and of course they're young children, so guess what? They don't sleep like an adult. They don't just lie straight up and down, but they're crooked, they're sideways, they're slipping down the bed, they're up by your head, their stinky feet are on your face, right? Like if you've ever shared a bed with a child, it is ridiculous. I remember sleeping with Lily and Brody, like when they were growing up. They are horrible. I don't know, maybe it's just in our family genetics, but it is wild, them sleeping. So, and of course, like I've, Caitlin, my sister, like these are her children. I remember like sleeping with Caitlin, and Caitlin and my sister Ashley, like both would be so rambunctious when they're sleeping. Caitlin would talk in her sleep. Like just, it's crazy to think about like their parents and knowing them so intimately. Like we grew up together. These are my siblings, to now my nieces and nephew have some of their characteristics. But we get into bed, and we're laying sideways, all the things. I actually do sleep pretty good the first night, but when we wake up, I had put in the beginning, I was in the middle. never ever actually go to sleep in the middle of two children. Okay, no. So Marcella had fallen asleep first. She was like instant. Malcolm was talking and it was so cute. He was like, I love fishing. We're gonna go fishing tomorrow. I love eating fish. And then he was like, I also love eating Brussels sprouts. Like he was saying all these like foods that he loves to eat. He's definitely a foodie. He will eat like crazy. Anything you put in front of him, he's chowing down on. So he was like so cute and also like delirious with like going to sleep, like he's getting tired. And I was like, yep. And then finally he was like, okay, Logan, I think I'm gonna go to sleep. And I was like, perfect. Let's actually move you by your sister. So he got in the middle, I got on the outside. Perfect. They're not like overheating you. They're not kicking you in the face, hopefully. So I'm on the outside. Malcolm in the middle, and Marcella's on the outside. But that first morning when we woke up, it is thundering, it is lightning. Okay, the whole camper feels like it's shaking. Ridiculous. That's the only bad thing about camping. It's like we're in a 10 box. Like it literally could get swept away by the wind. But we're sitting there, we're hanging out. We're sleeping. We're sleeping. So, again, especially when I'm traveling, I have a face mask on. I have earplugs in. I am trying to get the best quality of sleep because I want my spinal fluid to wash out my brain. I want to make sure that I'm fighting against mental illness and getting my full 8 hours of sleep. Women need more sleep than men. Sleep is so important to me. I'm going to get it. So I have these in, and I don't know if Marcella at first tried to talk to me, but she woke up first. She woke up at like 6:30. That is ridiculous. I went to bed very late, 12 o'clock after driving, having a full work day. Like I went to sleep in a little bit. So I feel her climb over on top of the covers and then kind of like pounce on my legs a little bit, like to wake me up. Like she's just excited. And I like pulled up. I felt like such an old lady. I pulled out my earplugs. I like lift up my face mask and I was like, good morning, Marcella, because Malcolm is still sleeping. The whole camper is sleeping and I'm not trying to have everybody wake up, and it's still like it is coming down rain. Like I can hear it on the camper roof. And I was like, hi, what's going on? Trying to be quiet. And she came up beside me and we were talking. And I personally, on the pull-out beds, I cannot sleep properly, like with your head at the top by the couch. I have to sleep the opposite way because I feel like it divots down for pull-out couches, and I hate the way it makes my back feel. So I always sleep opposite where my feet are going down, like where the pull-out bed folds into. So I was like up there with Marcel, and then I was like, actually, let's look outside. So we moved over to the back where now we're sitting up and we look outside and we're looking at the rain. And I have this huge quilt that I brought. And it's like a scrap quilt. I forget where I got it, but it has like all these little squares, and it is definitely like it's like a trash quilt, like where you have scraps and pieces that you didn't buy for this quilt. Like it's totally random. Like there's fireworks and softball. Like that sounds like summer, but it's like floral print, and then it's a baseball, and then there's like these owls and just like different prints. It's totally wild, totally whack, so many different ones, and it's cohesive in the fact that they're all like squares, but they're so different color schemes. It definitely is a quilt that they did not go to the store and think, oh, I want this skein, I want this skein, I want this skein. Like it's all random. It's crazy. There's some squares that it doesn't matter. Anyways, it's completely random. And we were like sitting there, and I knew that I did not want to pull out my phone. And this was reminding me of how present and not present I can be. When I wake up in the morning, I really try not to have my phone. I don't want my phone. I want to be present. I want to try and just like experience life without my phone. But maybe around the, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock hour, I'll grab my phone, and you can lose track of time so quickly, especially on the weekends. And sitting with Marcella, I was thinking, oh my gosh, like I haven't checked my phone because I turned off the alarm. I thought I was going to sleep in, but here Marcella and we're talking. It was like 30 40 minutes. We're kind of making a story about the patches. Like, oh, what, the firework patch. He's like, this looks like 4th of July. I said, oh, do you know who's born in July? Lily, Aunt Lily's born in July. Like, we were going through all the patches. And because we have such a big family, everybody is almost born in different months. Like, the Marcella shares a birthday month with her grandpa, but other than that, like, none of us have the same birthday month. We're all born in different months. And so that was kind of fun to like go through it, of like her aunts and her uncles and her cousins, and like when they were born, and when Mimi and Papa were born, and just going through it. And I realized how present I was and how good it felt. It did help, like, my phone didn't have that much reception throughout the weekend. But I was reading. I had brought a couple books, but I was reading before bed. I was really captivated by the stories. Sometimes my brain is like going too quick for a book. It's not like actually settled in. And then like I'll close the book and do something else. But the practice of doing nothing is so important. And like using your imagination is also so important. And watching them play with like their toys. Like, we had 2 plastic pools before we went to the lake. We, at the campsite, they have a little pool. And so we filled both of them up, and they had like Polly Pockets in one, and Malcolm had like a little army truck. And just thinking about how much time they have to do nothing or have time to play, I was thinking, oh my gosh, like, I need more time to play. I need more time for my brain to do nothing. And that's where my creative ideas come. That's when I'm feeling the most motivated, the most recharged, and the most ready for the next adventure. And instead of like chalking my calendar full of different activities, and I need to be doing this and I need to be doing that, questioning and asking myself, like, is that what is going to make me feel the most fulfilled? Or is like taking time for myself, taking time to relax and have my mind be bored or blank, or have that creative play, like, is that going to be the most impactful? Is that going to be the most powerful? And watching them do that, or spending the morning where I didn't have my phone, I wasn't being entertained, and like my brain definitely noticed it. It was like, oh, like, we probably need to text Garrett like good morning. And also thinking, oh my gosh, like, I don't have to, like, I can text him in a bit. Like, I can, not saying that he's not important, but it doesn't, like, sometimes I think the addiction to your phone, we think it, oh my gosh, it has to happen now. We have to text back. We have to check the socials. What happens if we let 10 minutes go by where we're not checking or talking to it? And allowing the space to be like, oh, like, I don't have to check it. Oh, I don't have to, be so inherently tied to it. Like, I can have the relaxation, I can have the play, I can have the time and the space to think. And time is so precious. So if I am just like getting swept away on social media, or on the consumption of, TV or movies or shows or podcasts or audiobooks, like all the content that I love to consume, I just think that there is definitely a time and place for also quiet, and allowing your brain to not have an agenda, but just to experience and live. I think because I am such a high achiever and always like wanting the next thing and trying to make sure I'm using my time in the best way, sometimes the best time that has been spent is the time of quiet, and the time where my brain can just run and think about things, or analyze, or just be so in the moment. And so I was definitely appreciative of giving myself the space and the time, and not having something that had to be done, but just to be completely and fully present, because I know that I won't ever get those years back, with these kids. So it was exciting. It was so fun, but it always puts it in perspective of being present, although it's so hard, but like just being so aware of your surroundings and giving it some appreciation, giving it some thanks. I always look for how I can improve and how I can be better, and what can I, cut out to make my life easier, but it's also like, can I be grateful for what I've achieved? Like there's been many times where I've been, praying and hoping and working for something that I now have, and to be like, oh my gosh, like I achieved that. I got it. I wanted it so bad and now I have it, and am I actually fully appreciating it? I would like to, right? Like I would like to have all the appreciation and all the wonder of a child. So I just think this weekend was so good. I hope that you had a wonderful Memorial Day weekend and that you enjoyed the time spent in honoring those who served, and to just be fully present. So thank you so much for listening or watching the Golden Hour Drip podcast, wherever you are watching or listening. Go to the other platform and subscribe. I sure would appreciate it. And until next time, bye.